All right, section 4.6. Now we've done some regular congruents. Let's list them. We do this a lot, but I think it's important because you need to know what they are. What were the first two? They were postulates. What were the first two congruents, the reasons for congruent triangles? No, reasons for congruent triangles. Okay, angle side angle was one of them. Whoops. Oh, hold on. Sorry, I got to change my writing thing. I forgot to do that. Let's try that again. All right, so let's go through these. So how many have we had so far? Like 4 of them? Okay, so angle side angle was one of them. What was the other postulate? Side angle side, okay? So those were postulates. They're accepted without any proof at all. But then we did another one. What did we do after that? Okay, we did that last. What did we do after all this? Angle, angle, side, right? So it's angle, angle, side, and then we did side, side, side. Okay, and I think that's all we've done, right? Yep. So these are with any triangles. What we're doing today, I almost think it's not a waste of time. I was going to say that, but it's not really a waste of time. But I think it's kind of redundant. You ever hear that word, redundant? It just means you're kind of like just doing the same thing, and there's no, I don't know, good definition for it. Anybody heard the word redundant? Let's look it up. Redundant. Definition. It says, no longer needed or useful, superfluous. Have you ever used that word in your life? Superfluous, you ever hear of it? Well, it kind of means what? Redundant. But of course, if you don't know what that means, you don't know what that means. All right, so anyway, so redundant. There we go. No longer needed or useful. It says no longer employed here because there's no more work available. The staff were made redundant because they weren't needed anymore. So I don't know if you really, really need this right triangle congruence theorem, except for you're going to see it on a test, all right? I'll show you what I mean. You're probably wondering, what in the world is he talking about? Well, these congruence things, we're going to learn 4 of them in one lesson, all right? And they all have to do with what kind of triangles? It's right in front of you. Right triangles, very good. All right, so we're going to deal with right triangles, and so let's draw a right triangle. I'll draw one and then copy and paste it because they are congruent to each other, so I can copy and paste. Is that a right triangle right there? We don't know. Good answer. Why don't we know? They don't tell you the angle, okay? But now, is it a right triangle? Yeah. Absolutely, because we put that little box right there, okay? I'm going to group it and then copy and paste it. So what we're going to do is we're going to look to see what do we need to know in order to say that these triangles are congruent to each other, all right? Watch this. What if I said I knew that this and this were equal to each other? Thank you. What if I knew that those two were equal to each other, and I knew that these were equal to each other? This is what I mean by, this is my personal feeling, that these congruent statements are redundant. Means they're kind of not useful because we've already done it before, all right? We've already seen it before. Without knowing anything about right triangle congruence, why are these triangles congruent to each other? They are congruent. Tell me why. Because of side angle side, exactly right. But what they're doing today, they're saying, well, if you have 2 right triangles and you only know 2 sides, then you could say they're congruent. By the way, this side is called a leg. This side is called a leg. All right, when you have right triangles, what's the side that's opposite the right angle called? We have a special name for it. It's not the base. What is it? It's called the hypotenuse. All right? It's called the hypotenuse. How do we know it's the hypotenuse? Because it's opposite the what? The right angle. Okay? So the side that's opposite the right angle is always called the hypotenuse. Have you heard that word before? You probably have. Yeah, this is a very common thing. All right? So listen to me now. Don't lose me. I need everybody paying attention and not having your own conversations. So this side is a leg. This side is a leg. This is the hypotenuse. Why? Because it's opposite the right angle. Okay? Now, what did they give you? First of all, they gave you that it was a right triangle. Agreed? Yes? Yeah, because of the box. They gave you that it was a right triangle. And what else did they give you? They gave you one leg is equal to one leg. And they gave you what? The other leg, right, or the second leg is equal to the second leg. Everybody see that? So they gave you a right triangle, and they told you that the two legs were equal to each other. And that's all you need to know. And they call this, what do you think they call this? They call it the leg. I think it's a theorem. Yeah. They call it leg. But you can only use leg when you're dealing with what kind of triangles? Right triangles, okay? So if you're dealing with right triangles, you don't really even have to talk about this angle to say side angle side. I mean, you could, right? Because 90 equals 90, agreed? But since they're right triangles, you can just say leg. Again, that's the redundancy, right? We've already talked about side angle side. So why can't we just call it side angle side? Well, technically, this is kind of weird, but technically they didn't tell you that this angle was equal to this angle. Did they? They didn't really say that they're equal to each other, but they did say they're both equal to what? 90, and 90 and 90 are equal to each other. Agreed? Again, it's a very subtle difference here, one that you probably don't care about, and I would agree with you. I don't care about that too much either. But so that's why you don't really say side angle side on this, because they really didn't technically tell you that this angle is equal to this angle, even though they are equal to each other. I know it's weird. It's a subtle difference. All right? But they did tell you that the two legs were equal to each other. So, and it's a right triangle. So they did tell you that it's a right triangle. All right? And they told you that these legs were equal, so what do we use? We use the leg theorem, all right? So when they're right triangles, we're going to use these theorems we're talking about today. Does that make any sense? All right. So, yeah, I'll just stop right there. We got 3 more to do. All right, so I tell you what, let's do this. Let's grab this one, and let's grab that one. We'll copy it. And we'll paste it right there. All right. They're right triangles. I'll just keep them facing the same way and everything else. Now, here's something else they could tell you. What if they told you, let's do this in a different color. What if they told you that you have 2 right triangles, first of all? We know that, all right? What if they told you that this and this were equal to each other, and they also told you that this angle and this angle are equal to each other? Before today, you could have still shown that these triangles are congruent to each other. What would you have used? Look, I've got, what's this? That's an angle. This is an angle. I can't use side angle side. I only have one side. There's only one side. Stop saying 2 sides. Angle, side. That's it. It's angle, side. Why is it not angle, side, angle? No, angle, side, angle has only one side. But why isn't this called angle, side, angle? It's not in between. It's not, what's the word we always use? Included, right? It's not the included side, all right? So this right here, you could have said angle, side. But again, that subtle difference. Did they technically tell you that this angle was equal to this angle? No, they didn't technically tell you that they're equal to each other, even though we know they are, because they're both 90, right? But they didn't say that angle A is equal to angle B, or what you want to call that, those 2 angles, right? So what do you think we're going to call this? They give you a, what? What is this? Is this a leg? This is a hypotenuse. So they're going to call it hypotenuse. And what else did they give you? In red, what else did they give you? The angle, right? So they call this the hypotenuse angle theorem. Now again, you might have been able to get away with saying angle, side, but since we're dealing with right triangles, they have their own special congruence statements, all right, or reasons, I should say, and they call it hypotenuse angle. Everybody see that? The hypotenuse on this one is equal to the hypotenuse on this one. This angle over here right? This bottom right angle is equal to the bottom right angle over here. So I've got a hypotenuse and I've got an angle. And we just call it the hypotenuse angle theorem. It's not too hard, is it? No. Let's copy that. And let's do 2 more. Let's check this one out. Go back to red. All right. Here's another one. You got 2 right triangles, okay? They tell you that this is equal to this. What are those 2 sides right there? Are they legs? Are they hypotenuse? What are they? They're legs, okay. So I've got one leg and I got another leg, all right? So I got leg. They give you something else too. They tell you that this angle is equal to this angle. So what do you think? Like, let's go back to the old way of doing these things. You've got an angle, you've got a side, and you've got another angle. So the old way of doing it, we could have said angle, side, angle, couldn't we? But again, the subtle difference that this angle is really technically not given equal to this angle right there. Okay, but we know they are because they're both 90. All right, you get that. We've said that like 4 or 5 times now. All right, so instead of saying angle, side, angle, it is a right triangle. What do you think we're going to use? What do you think the name of this theorem is called? Okay, you could say, well, let's not say side. This is, when it's a right triangle, we call it a leg. Right, we call it a leg. You could call it angle leg, but they don't. They call it leg angle. All right, they call it leg angle theorem. Okay? All right, so why are these triangles congruent? What's the reason that these triangles are congruent to each other? Leg angle, right? Because I got a leg and a leg here. I got an angle and the same angle over there. All right, so these are congruent because of leg angle. Again, they have to be right triangles. You can't do this. You can't have a hypotenuse without a right triangle anyway. There is no hypotenuse if there's no right angle. What is what? HA, hypotenuse angle. All right, let's do one more. Actually, we'll just do this. I'll keep this here. It's the same theorem. So I saw 4 pictures on my notes, but there's actually only 3 theorems. So watch. What if I did this? Right there. What would this also be? What would the old way to call these triangles congruent? Angle, angle, side. We kind of already did that before, didn't we? So angle, angle, side. But now we're not going to talk about that angle right there. What did they give us? A leg and a what? And an angle. Everybody see that? So this would be leg angle as well. So there's couple situations where you could get leg angle in there. So we got 3 of them. So let's go through them again. I'll just, right here. So leg, leg. We got hypotenuse angle. And we got leg angle. Let's write those down. What was the first one? Leg, leg. Second one, hypotenuse angle. And then the third one, leg angle. Those are my right triangle congruence. Right triangle congruence. Those are my reasons why right triangles could be congruent to each other. Okay? I'll tell you what. We got some time. Let's take a look. Let me do a couple of homework problems for you. I should say with you instead of for you, because I want you to kind of follow along as well. All right. If you have your book open, you can open it up. It's page 188. So you're going to be doing numbers 1 to 14. So your homework is 1 to 14. And it's section, what did I say it was, 4-6? Pages 188, 189. Pages 188, 189. All right, so that's your homework right there. So let's do a couple of these. I'm not going to do them all for you. Don't get too excited. But I'll do a couple of these. Yeah. What's that? Whose is this book? Make sure I get this back because this is somebody's book from the other class. All right, so let's take a look. It looks like 1 through 5 are kind of the same. Yeah, kind of the same problems. I'm not going to do every one of these. Let's look at number 1. Let's change this back to white. It's a little bit easier to see in white. Okay. It says, draw and mark a pair of triangles. So you're going to draw some triangles illustrating each congruence theorem. All right? So you got to draw a picture for numbers 1 through 5. You got to have pictures for all of those. Then it says, then name the general triangle congruence theorem or postulate that can be used to prove the triangle's congruent. All right, I'll tell you what we're doing. So they give you, this is what they give you. They give you the leg theorem. So basically what I'm doing is just what I did in the notes. All right, so if you have your notes in front of you, I'm going to do this. I'm going to draw. There's a couple right triangles. I already got them drawn, so I just put them right there. So what do they ask you to do? Well, first of all, they ask you to draw the triangles, so you need to do that. And they're just right triangles. Just draw any 2 right triangles. Try to make them look the same, though, all right, as much as possible. They don't have to be perfect, but try to make them look the same. Put the little boxes in there so that they're right triangles. And what I need to do is I need to mark it. Let's see. Yeah, it says draw and mark a pair of triangles illustrating this theorem, leg. So let's do this. Let's call it A, B, C, D, E, F. All right? So what do I want to mark in order to show these triangles are congruent because of leg? Go ahead, Cabri. A, B, and what? Like that? Well, remember, we're comparing 2 triangles, though. So we're saying this leg on this triangle will equal what?
Oh, well, I just meant, okay, yeah. So then we...
Okay, good. You got it.
B, C, and D, F.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, so what you were thinking, you just didn't say it. Yeah. All right, so A, B, and D, E, that's one of the legs, right? Let's mark the other leg. What's the other leg? B, C would equal what? E, F, all right? So that's part of what they want you to write. And then it says, name the general triangle congruence theorem. That means the ones that we did before, the side angle, all that kind of stuff, okay? Which one is that one? What's the general one for this? It's the side angle side, okay? So this leg is based off of what? Side angle side. So you need those 3 things. You need the pictures. You need the markings. You don't even need to put the letters there, all right? I don't even think you need that. But put the little tick marks on it and then tell me why are these triangles congruent before we did the leg stuff, all right? And this would have been congruent because of side angle side. Does that make sense? So you're going to do that with 5 different ones, okay? So that's the first one. I got you started on that one. All right, number 7's a good one to look at. Everybody likes this just because it says something we're not supposed to be saying in here. All right, it says number 7. It says, which condition is valid for right triangles? Oh, that's one thing I didn't do. Let me see if I did that on this one. I think in my note, let me see something. Hang on just a second. Sorry. Yeah, I didn't put that in my notes. But you could have this. Look at this. Actually, let's make this red. Everybody looking here? Come on. Watch this. you could have called this, let's see. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted to do. Let's do this. I don't even think you'll really care about this, but I'll show it to you anyway. What if I told you that this and this were equal to each other and this one and this were equal to each other? Agreed? Yes? Okay. So this is what? Hypotenuse leg. Do we have a hypotenuse leg? No, we don't. We should have a hypotenuse leg. Why didn't I put that on there? Is it in the... Hold on. Did I not put it in my notes? Leg, hypotenuse angle. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't do that. It's in the book. I didn't put it in my notes. I better do that for next year. There is a hypotenuse leg, by the way. All right, I did it right here, okay? So there are 4. So I was right when I said that at the beginning. So sorry about that. I just didn't put it in my notes. I don't know why. But look at this. There's a hypotenuse leg. Now, normally we would say you can't have this because what would be like the original congruence way of saying this? It would be angle, side, side. But can we write, I'm not even going to write it just because you'll all laugh and giggle and everything, okay? But can you have an angle, side, side congruence theorem? No, you can't, okay? Except when you have right triangles. If I have a right triangle, I can have angle, side, side, right? But we don't call it angle, side, side. We call it what? Hypotenuse what? Leg, okay? Everybody see that? So you do actually have 4 of these. I was sure we had 4 of them, and then in my notes I didn't have it. I'm going to have to change my notes. It is question 7. So here's what the question says. It says, which condition is valid for right triangles but is not valid otherwise? It's a weird way to read it, but what works for right triangles that doesn't work for a normal triangle? This angle side side, all right? Now the book doesn't use angle side side because they're probably, well, of course, the book is Bob Jones University, which is a very, very, very conservative Christian college, and so they're not going to write angle side side on there, okay? So what would they write? Side side angle, all right? So is there a side side angle for normal triangles? No, but is there a side side angle for right triangles? Yes, there are, because there it is right there. A leg and a hypotenuse, a leg and a hypotenuse, that will make those triangles congruent to each other. Okay? So it's just SSA would be the answer. Okay? So SSA would be the answer. Yep, that would be your answer for number 7. Okay? No work to show or anything like that. Just write that down. It was definitely confusing, but I tried to help you out. All right, I'm going to do one more, and then I'll let you do the rest. All right? So number 8 now. Let me draw the picture for you. I'll tell you what, let's use this thing. Let's see. Grab that. There we go. All right, and then they do this. They put this line straight down the middle like that. They draw it perpendicular, so that means if it's perpendicular, that's a right angle. All right? So they give you this triangle, and they give you this and this. All right? And they name it A, B, C, D. A, B, C, and D. So here's what the question is. This is, let's see, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So this goes all the way to 13. All right? So it says, write a triangle congruent statement. What is that? A triangle congruent statement. That's like triangle what? ABC is congruent to triangle DEF or whatever, any letters. Okay? So I want to write a triangle congruent statement and name the right triangle congruence theorem that justifies it. All right? So we kind of did this on the last quiz, except we didn't do it with right triangles. All right? So name me the reason why these triangles are congruent and name me the triangle congruence statement. Let's do the reason first. Okay, let's do the reason. Why are these two triangles congruent to each other? Well, they only give me one angle. Well, they do give me this angle right here. Okay, what's the other side? The middle one. Give me the letters. BD. All right, so watch. That one's shared by both of them. Every time you have a triangle that shares a side, I can always say that the side is equal to both of those triangles. Make sense? All right. So now let's take a look at this. I've got an angle and I've got a what? Is that a leg or a hypotenuse, that BD? It's a leg, right, because AB would be the hypotenuse and BC would be the hypotenuse. So I got a leg and I got an angle. Okay, so what's the reason why these triangles are congruent? It's not hypotenuse anything. I don't know the hypotenuse are equal to each other. What is it? Leg angle. That's right. It's leg angle. Don't we have one that's called leg angle? Yep, right there. Okay. So, are these triangles congruent to each other? Yes. Why are they congruent to each other? Because of leg angle, right? They both have an angle and they both share that leg right there. Everybody with me? Give me the triangle congruent statement then. Triangle what equals triangle what? Or not equals, I should say what? Congruent to. So triangle what? What are we going to call this one over here on the left? ABD? Okay, let's call it ABD. Does it matter? As long as I use those three letters, A, B, and D, it doesn't matter what order you put it in. But it does matter on the second one. If I call this A, B, D, I'm going to have to call this C, B, D. Very good. C, B, D. All right? Because look, the A and the C are both the ones with one red arc. All right? So they got to go together. The B is the one up here where they both touch at B, right? And then the D is whatever's left over, but D is also the right angle, so the D and the D match up. So that would be your answer for number 8. Both of those things right there. Okay? They give you this, and you got to come up with this. Actually, I mean, that'd be fine, but they do ask for the congruent statement first, and then the reason second. It doesn't matter which order you put it in, but we'll do it like that. Okay, so there's the triangle congruent statement. There's the reason. I think they ask for that order, don't they? Yep. Think you can do that for the other ones? Now, the other one, I'm not going to do it for you. I don't want to ruin all the fun. I'll draw it out for you to give you some hints. So that looks, this is 9. Again, I'm not going to do the whole thing for you. I want to leave something for you to do. Well, it's going to be 2 triangles. It's going to be 2 right triangles, but they look like this. All right? They tell you that that's a right angle. They tell you that's a right angle. And they give you some letters. Q. This is P. This is R. T and S.
It's funny about work.
Okay? And they tell you one thing about it. Oops. All right. They tell you that this side is equal to this side. So what are they asking you to do? They're asking you to give a congruent statement, which triangles are congruent to each other. Make sure you put them in the right order. And then they're asking, what's the reason? What's the right triangle congruence reason? Okay, not the old side angle stuff, okay? What's the right triangle one?
What question is this?
This is number 9. All right. What'd you say, Neil? Where's the angle? Where the R is. That's right. Okay. Guess I am doing this for you. But Neil did it for you. All right. So look, where are the angles that are equal to each other? Well, you got the right angles, but that just tells me that I got right triangles. Where's the other angle? It's right here, and it's right here. Because any time 2 lines cross each other, they form equal angles. So those 2 are equal. If you wanted to, you're not going to use this, but those 2 would be equal to each other as well. See how they're across from each other? Any time that lines cross each other, it doesn't matter what angle they make, they always form two sets of equal angles. So you've got this angle right here equaling this angle right here. They didn't tell you that they were equal. We had to figure that out on our own. There's a reason why these two are equal. We mentioned this, I believe, yesterday or the day before. It's been recent. We mentioned that. Anybody remember why these two are equal to each other with the name of it? Vertical angles. Very good. Okay, they're vertical angles. And we have a theorem. Actually, I think it might be I think it's a theorem. We have a theorem that says that vertical angles are what to each other? They're equal to each other. Vertical angles are equal. That's the reason. All right? We want to be able to back up the things that we do with a good reason. All right? And this is our reason. That why are these two angles equal to each other? Because they're vertical angles. And vertical angles are always equal to each other. Everybody got that? Okay. So now, look what we got. I've got an angle and I've got a what? Is this a leg or a hypotenuse? How do you know it's the hypotenuse? It's opposite the right angle. Okay? So I've got a hypotenuse. I've got an angle. What's my reason? Hypotenuse angle. That's one of my four, isn't it? Okay? You just got to know your four. Okay? You got to study those four and remember which ones they are. So we've got hypotenuse angle. What's the other thing they ask you to do? Write a what? Yeah, a triangle. What do they call it? Triangle congruence statement. So triangle what is congruent to triangle what? You do it, and then I'll give you 30 seconds. Okay? So write them down, and then we'll look at it. Give you another 20 seconds. Did you write it down? Write down what your congruence statement is. And it doesn't matter if you use this as your first triangle or this as your first triangle. It doesn't make any difference. And it doesn't matter what order you put P, Q, and R in. It doesn't make any difference. But depending on what you make this triangle, this one's got to match up with it. All right, time's up. So what'd you call this did you use this triangle first? Let's use that one. PQR? All right. It doesn't matter. You could use QRP, QPR, any combination of those three. But the thing is, this next one has to match up with the one that you wrote down right here, okay? So, which one matches up with the P? Which one over here on this one matches up with the P? The S. How do you know that? Well, this one has one red arc, right? This one's got a right angle. This is the only one that doesn't have anything, right? Same thing with P. So P's got nothing, S has got nothing. Those are the ones that are going to go together. What about the Q? Yes, because Q and T are both what? Right angles. So if Q is a right angle, the one that matches up with it is the one over here, which is T. Now the third one's easy because it's the only one left over. I use STR. Okay? Now that's not the only answer that you could write. I could have written, Amaya, what'd you say? QPR? QPR is congruent to triangle. Now watch. If I went QPR, what am I going to do over here? I'm going to go T, and then what? What's with the P? The SR. So TSR. And that would be just as correct. There's not one that's better than the other. Either one is perfectly fine. But look, if you made this QPR, you have to make this TSR. If I would have made this TRS, then guess what I would do? I'd mark it wrong. You understand why? Because the Q and the T have got to match up. Do they match up on this one that I did first? Yeah. The P and the S have to match up. Do they match up here? Yep. And the R and the R have to match up right there. Right? There could be a variety of different answers for that, but they could all be right. And that's what I have to do when I mark your quizzes and tests. I got to look through there, and if you didn't write it exactly like I did, I got to make sure that the Q and the T are the same, the P and the S and the R match up. As long as they match up, you're good to go. What's one thing I probably won't take off for, but I really want you to do? Write the triangles in there, okay? So put the triangles in there, and don't make this equal, make it what? Congruent, okay? All right, so what do you really need to do tonight besides your homework? You need to remember, but you need to remember these 4 right triangle congruent statements, okay? they're not really statements. They're reasons. They're reasons why right triangles could be congruent to each other. Everybody got that? All right. So what did I say? Today's Thursday, Friday. So we'll tomorrow we'll do the next lesson,
I drive tomorrow. I don't care.
and then we'll review for a test on Monday, and then we will take the test on Tuesday. So if you want to write that down, I'll try to remember that as well. All right, that's it.